Yo, it's your girl Deja Marie, and you're listening to Chavez Loud and Proud podcast, a podcast led by Chavez students discussing current locals and national policy issues. Today, I have with me Miss Morgan. How you doing today?
Oh, well, how are you?
I'm good. Today we'll be discussing human sex trafficking. And my first question is, what is your point of view about human sex trafficking?
I think that human sex trafficking is an issue that has not received as much attention as it should.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a prevalent issue. I think that it has the potential to grow, which concerns our communities. And I think it's something that we definitely need to bring to the forefront and discuss to help our communities be more aware of what's going on.
Okay. Why do you think the family victims of sex trafficking sell them?
Wow, it's a good question. I think that there are several reasons. I think that there's an economic component.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes there's just a lack of empathy for other people just as human beings, and to reduce somebody to the level that you don't think that they're a human, that to think that they're not on the level to be respected and to be cherished is a hard situation to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a lot of pain that's going on in our communities that we're not talking about. A lot of shame and a lot of guilt surrounding issues that sometimes we can control, sometimes we can't control. But we definitely have to be able to discuss these issues, because the mind, body, spirit piece is very important, very connected, and it all gets affected as a total person when you can't address issues like this.
And I do agree with you, but I feel like mainly because like the parents, they very shameless of their life, so they really don't care about theirs or their child. So I feel like that's the reason why they put them up for sex trafficking, or maybe they probably on drugs and they need the money.
Very true.
So it's different reasons on why they probably do that.
Very true, and I do agree with you as well. That there's like you said, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt with things that go on with people's families, and when you project that shame and that guilt onto your children,
Mm-hmm.
it increases the risk that human sex trafficking can occur.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that the parents should be held accountable as well, because of the fact that that's a human, they have feelings as well. So they should be able to be held accountable for what they're doing.
Very true, because we're the first caretakers of our children, so you have to be responsible for them and take accountability for how you lead and guide your children.
Mm-hmm. Do you think in the future sex trafficking will end? It probably depends.
Unfortunately, I don't think so, and I hope that it can.
Mm-hmm.
And again, in forums like this, to be able to talk about issues, that's the thing that I think keeps us from being able to heal, us from being able to really address it as a serious issue. So I hope that it will end. I know that there are people who don't wish our children any good, and it's hard to change hearts and minds, but at the same time, I think that it's worth the effort to get the message out, to try to get legislation, because it goes beyond just the home. It goes
Mm-hmm.
it goes to
Deeper.
What government agencies are doing about it. It goes to what the federal government is doing about it. So if we can attack it from all angles, I believe that it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
A difficult job, but it can be done.
Do you think it's right for people? Well, do you think it's right for them to sell people in sex trafficking for money, like in exchange?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. A human's life, you can't put a price on. So I don't believe you can sell anybody for any amount. And again, when you turn around and you exchange a person for money, you're putting a finite value on their life. And this life is way too precious to put any value on. So I don't care how much money anybody's offered. It should never be in exchange for another person. Because like I said, that diminishes their dignity. It makes them feel less than. It perpetuates the cycle that we're trying to break. And again, there's no higher value than life itself.
Do you think bringing awareness and hosting events will like bring a stop to sex trafficking, or is it going to continue?
I think it'll definitely bring awareness. And with awareness comes ideas. With ideas come action.
Mm-hmm.
And with action, you can diminish these kinds of things from happening. So I think this is the best place to be able to start to discuss the issue, to bring it to the forefront, to let people know what's going on. And, you catch the ears of different people and you get other people involved. That's how you do it. Sometimes, your federal government can't do everything or won't do everything for you. So we got to start from the grassroots approach, from the bottom up. So, raising awareness just by talking, I think is an excellent way for us to understand better how this is affecting our communities disproportionately and harming our communities, and what we can do to stop it.
And do you think that they target young, like, why do you think they target young, like, teenagers?
Much more vulnerable. In your teen years, you go through a lot. There's a lot of transition that you make in terms of, who you're expected to be, who you want to be, who you end up being. There's a lot of things that go on in those years, and that does leave you vulnerable, I think, to those who should know better, who should absolutely know better and should be invested in your future, not just their own particular interests.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, yes, I definitely believe that they're targeted because they're much more vulnerable, much more trusting, much more loving, and people exploit that. That's the unfortunate part, because children are usually just about love.
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we all gravitate towards and we all respond to. And when you exploit somebody's vulnerability like that, there should definitely be some accountability for it.
I understand. Do you feel like race really play a part of human sex trafficking, or no?
I think it does. Even when you look at missing kids,
Mm-hmm.
People of color do not get the same exposure by any means that others get in the media. There are kids out there who go missing every single day, but the higher ups choose who they're going to go after, who they're going to seemingly care more about. So I think that there's definitely a race issue when it comes to missing and exploited children all over. Because again, we fight for that that ability to be seen as equal. And when our children go missing, there's no reason for us not to treat them with the same respect and urgency as any other child.
So my other question is, do you think the victims of sex trafficking should be able to have some type of support instead of them just going out in the world like by themselves after everything happened?
Absolutely. I think support is a very big part of being able to heal. I think it's important that children who are victims of sex trafficking are seen as such. Children of sex trafficking. There have been so many cases where there are young girls who get exploited and they're treated as prostitutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality, these are victims of sex trafficking, and we need to protect our youth and not further exploit them, not further expose them to harm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think support services are definitely needed, definitely warranted to help these kids heal and move along and be able to, participate in society and feel that they are treasured just like everybody else.
Do you think the government should pass a law far as sex trafficking, which stopping it?
Sure, absolutely. It's going to take a lot, because again, hearts and minds are hard to change, but I think that if we set some firm laws stating that these are things that are going to be consequences if you do things to harm our children, if that stops one other person from doing it, then absolutely. Let's look at legal ways to make sure that these people are held accountable.
Okay. And my last question is, what is your overall opinion about sex trafficking?
It's a horrifying entity in and of itself. It depletes children of their innocence. It depletes children of their ability to feel good about themselves. And we definitely need to bring more attention to it, and we need to address it for the safety and for the future of our communities.
Okay. I mean, I do agree with you, but I feel like the main reason why sex trafficking is happening is because those people have the power to do anything. And they have the money, so they could bring in and do whatever they want to them particular kids. So I feel like they know that they're not going to be stopped.
Gotcha.
So that really play a big role in sex trafficking, the power and the money.
Well, true. And then I think, too, that there are a lot of people that play a lot of little different parts. So you look at really powerful people, but you look at people who are involved in their immediate circles. If you have anything to do with the exploitation of a minor, I don't care how much money you have or how little money you have, you need to be held accountable for it. So I agree. It's definitely people in power. And a lot of times those people in power are exploiting people below them to feed their own interests. But again, you got to be able to have enough conscience to say, you know what, I'm not going to participate in that either. Because again, I feel like if you have something to do with human sex trafficking, you need to definitely be held accountable. I don't care where you fall on that chain of command.
Well, that was my last question, and I'm happy you came.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. This is Chavez Loud, Chavez Proud, and we ready to roll out.